Welcome to this week's snow apocalypse version of the Ag Report. I want to talk to you a little bit about, what we as farmers and ranchers do when there is we used to call it, when I was growing up, a blue northern, or an Arctic blast, that kind of stuff that comes in and what that looks like to us and how that kind of affects, our operations and things that we have to do. Weather, we've talked, before. Weather forecasting and watching those things are a big part of agriculture. We try to, constantly look at that long range forecast. We all have, different apps or services, things like that we try and use. But basically, we're just trying to get a head start on what's going on. And you may ask, well, why do you need a head start on there? Well, like we've talked about in agriculture, it's not an instant thing. We don't plant our crops instantly. We don't prepare our fields instantly. We have to start planning and working on that months beforehand. And a lot of times when we're still in the crop that we're raising, we are thinking about decisions that we make for as far as fertility and things like that with this crop, as far as what our next crop will be and what we'll need to be doing. Well, cold weather, just the same thing. So we've talked about hay and feed, supplemental feed, things like that to the animals, cattle specifically we're talking about. We've kind of talked about that before. So here's where all that is important, okay? You can't instantly make cattle have a good body conditioning score or good health in there, okay? It takes time. Just like a lot of folks in January, they want to do better for themselves and they get a gym membership. And here we are in February, and maybe you're making, little progress, that kind of stuff, and that's great. But remember, it's not an instant thing. It's little steps, and it's going to take time to get there. So with our cattle, it's kind of a year-long thing. You want to try to have their body conditioning as good as you can. Now, we have droughts, we have severe weather, things like that affect how their body health and body conditioning is. Maybe we were coming out of a drought and they weren't as healthy as possible. This year, we kind of had a good year. So they did have some grass. Hopefully your cattle, they weren't overgrazed. Hopefully they were in pretty good shape coming into the winter. That's important right now because we want those cattle as fat and healthy as possible once wintertime starts, because you really can't put weight on cattle or anything like that in the wintertime. You're trying to maintain their body health where they don't necessarily lose. If we have a hard winter, they will lose some, but coming into that spring, they'll pick it back up. So give you a little timeline. We're hoping that coming out of the summertime, they were in pretty good health. So then our hay quality is important. We want to try to maintain that. A lot of times to my hay customers and stuff, we have different cuttings of hay that happen at different times in the year. And things may happen, may get rained on, or it may get, a breakdown. It may get a little, bleached out or something like that to where it wasn't the best quality that we had hoped for. So a lot of times we want to try and feed that lesser quality stuff maybe early in the winter or on pretty days, things like that, where those cattle aren't, needing a whole lot of energy. So this cold weather that's coming up, the snow, things like that, now is when we're wanting to feed the best hay that we have, the best protein, the highest energy, because that is how those animals are going to stay warm. Those animals are trying to grow hair to keep themselves warm. That's how they put on, extra, like we put on extra layers of clothes and coats. They grow hair. That's one big way that they stay warm. Also, that stomach, they have 4 parts to their stomach. And man, it's really, really working right now, trying to create energy and body heat to keep them warm. The other thing that a lot of guys will do, I had some leftover hay from last year. So I kind of made a little bunker for them to, like a windbreak, where they can kind of get behind it, or they can use that old hay as bedding if they want to kind of burrow down in it a little bit. Some folks have windbreaks or little lean-to shelters that the cattle can get into. Those are all things that we kind of, start planning a long time ago as far as their health. So short term, what does that look like? Well, knowing that we've got potential power outages, things like that happening. A lot of us out in the country run on well water, okay? Means we don't have water towers to feed the water supply like folks in town. Your water in town, power goes out, you still have water because it works off gravity in your water towers. Those of us in the country, we work off electric pumps. Power goes out, we don't have any water. Well, that's important for the cattle. They still need to drink, in the cold weather. So we want to make sure that either one, they have access to natural ponds that they can get to, or if we're having to feed water out of water troughs, we want to make sure that those troughs start off full as possible, maybe an extra trough if we don't have a very big one, so that we have some capacity for water storage in case the water goes out for a day or two, something like that. It's not unheard of in the country to be out of water for a couple of days. So that's something we kind of think about. The other thing is freezing. We may still have water pressure, water supply, but to be honest, in this part of Texas, we are not equipped for single digit temperatures, especially for a couple of days at a time, prolonged periods. That will freeze our pipes up and we won't be able to have water even if we want to. So that's, again, where we need those troughs and some extra storage. And then you're going to be breaking ice. You're going to need to go twice a day, in the morning and the evening, with a sledgehammer or an axe, something like that, and break that ice so that those animals can get to that fresh water in there. Probably going to be feeding some extra hay. Normally, if you're putting out hay, say every 2 days, something like that, you may be putting it out every day. So let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about our equipment, because this hay, most of us have it in round bales. You can't put that out by yourself with a pitchfork. You're going to need a truck or a tractor, something like that to do. So we start thinking about, okay, when was the last time I changed batteries on that feed truck or on that tractor? As they get old, with maybe 2, 3, 4 years worth of age on them, if they've lasted that long, when you have cold weather like this, they're probably going to die on you. So we're looking at doing some maintenance right quick to put some fresh batteries on that feed tractor or that feed truck, so that we know when it's 5 degrees out there, that thing will still crank up and get that feed out. We're also trying to look, make sure we've got antifreeze in those radiators and stuff so they don't freeze up. And then that switches to our big equipment. So, we've got sprayers. We were just spraying wheat last week or so. Those things freeze up. There's several different ways you can go about it. You can try to drain everything out of it, but that is difficult. You can get some antifreeze solutions to try and run through there. I've got mine in the shed with a heater going under it, trying to kind of keep it, just anything to keep it above 32 degrees so that our pumps and our lines don't break and that kind of stuff. We have a lot of equipment that we've got to be mindful of, and it kind of gets busy. And when you're talking about getting down in those single digits, it can cost you lots of money in repairs at that if we don't have the wintering, get that stuff drained and have antifreeze and stuff in there. So anyways, that's kind of a quick glimpse, I hope, maybe a shotgun blast for some of you, of what goes through our minds in the last several days. It has been busy trying to prepare, having enough diesel in the tanks and stuff. That's another thing. You want to have some extra fuel in your equipment in case you have to leave them running for a little bit while you're doing some things, or if you're having some trouble and you're feeding twice a day, you might leave it running for a little bit if you're having a hard time getting those things started. So, well, be sure and, like I say, check on those cattle when you're going out there. They love to have babies in changes of weather. And so, if they are having babies, keep an eye on them. Make sure those mothers are licking them off. Don't, in my opinion, try not to interfere. That is a good natural process that they go through, licking those things off. I know those babies come out wet and they look cold and everything like that, but that is a very important bonding time for that mother when she's licking that baby off. It also helps her when she's licking off that afterbirth and eating that afterbirth. That is a kind of a jump start for her with vitamins and nutrition. So, try, I know it's sometimes it's hard to resist not taking that baby in, warming it up, that kind of stuff. But let's try and let those mothers do what they need to do. Now, certainly, if you've got you a young heifer that doesn't know what in the world she's doing and she runs off and leaves that baby, we have to step in and take care of those things, dry them off ourselves, sometimes get them some colostrum, that kind of stuff. But the good Lord knew what he was doing when he designed those mamas and everything. And for the most part, they do a good job with it. And so we try not to interfere too much. We let the Lord kind of do what he's programmed them things to do, and usually works out a whole lot better than when we kind of mess with the mess kit. But it is our job to kind of oversee and do our best and be ready to step in when we need to. So anyways, y'all be safe, be careful, watch out for your neighbors, check on those folks when it gets slippery and stuff like that. We all can slip and fall and maybe need a hand up sometimes. So check on your neighbors and your folks that are going to be out in this weather. We hope y'all enjoy this little tidbit into kind of what goes through the minds of a farmer and rancher. Remember, we're always out here having to take care of things, and we don't have days off just because of a snow day, something like that. So we have to continue to take care of the things that we are given to oversee. So, well, I hope y'all have enjoyed this snow apocalypse version of the Ag Report. Y'all take care.